Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 232, Hatching a Plan. The episode begins with Ash and the gang deciding to camp out for the night and have some dinner on the way to Mahogany Town, when suddenly, Misty notices that Ash's bag was emitting a strange light. So, Ash digs in his bag and finds the source of the light to be none other than his egg, which he had since managed to fix its case and place the egg back in the case. Nonetheless, though, the egg was glowing, and Brock stated, being the breeder that he was, knowing about Pokemon eggs, that the egg glowing meant that it was about to hatch. Ash and the gang immediately stated what they wanted the egg to hatch into, with Misty wishing that it would be as cute as her Togepi, leading Ash to remind her that it didn't fucking matter what it hatched into, as long as it was happy and healthy, and it was able to get along with all of his other Pokemon. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was spying on Ash and the gang from some bushes, as usual, and saw that the egg was about to hatch, and proceeded to wonder themselves what it might hatch into, with James believing that it could be a rare Pokemon, with Meowth agreeing. Jesse, on the other hand, simply told them to quit thinking, and instead just focus on trying to steal the egg, stating their plan, which was to steal the egg right as it was hatching, since Ash and the gang would be caught off guard in amazement by the hatch, and Team Rocket could use this to their advantage. By morning, Ash and the gang were tired as fuck, as they hadn't slept a wink, still waiting for the egg to hatch. Thankfully, though, the egg did hatch into none other than a Pokemon that Ash and the gang had never seen before. Really, so Ash used his Pokedex to find out that it was called Phanpy, the pre-evolution of Donphan. Of course, Ash instantly goes to catch the Phanpy to officially make it his own, but he uses a regular Pokeball, leading Brock to stop him. Ash questions why Brock was stopping him, leading Brock to remind Ash that he had to use the Pokeball that was on top of the egg case. Honestly, I'm gonna admit, this doesn't make fucking sense to me whatsoever, as the Phanpy was never born before. Like, it's not like it was owned by another trainer or something. It shouldn't have to go in a specific Pokeball. But anyways, Ash tries to catch the Phanpy with this ball from the case, but Phanpy didn't want to go in the ball. It wanted to stay outside and play, so it dodged, jumping out of the way. Ash tries to throw the Pokeball a second time, but the Phanpy simply jumps out of the way again. This leads Brock to state his assumption that the Phanpy probably thought that Ash was playing a game with it, as it really wanted to play, stating that the game was probably dodge to the Pokeball, and that's why it kept trying to jump up and shit. Brock then suggests that Ash may be able to convince the Phanpy to go in the Pokeball if he gives it some food or some shit, so Ash does just this, as Brock hands him a piece of his Pokemon food. Phanpy appeared very interested in the food, just as Brock predicted, and Misty commented that Phanpy seemed to like food as much as Ash. However, since Phanpy was so busy sniffing the food before it ate it, it didn't get the chance to eat it before Team Rocket showed up. They thought they were being stealthy, appearing in egg costumes, but the eggs had huge R's on them, so Ash and the gang were able to identify them right away, leading Team Rocket to instantly reveal themselves, as they did their motto, and demanded Phanpy. Ash responds that he obviously wasn't going to let Team Rocket take his Pokemon, but Team Rocket respond by taunting Ash, reminding him that Phanpy wasn't even technically his, since he couldn't even get it in a goddamn Pokeball. Team Rocket then wastes no more time, as they use a extendable robot arm to try and grab Phanpy. However, Pikachu uses Thunderbolt. Unfortunately, although Pikachu's Thunderbolt did make contact with Team Rocket, they had just grabbed the Phanpy with their robot arm, which also got shocked, which, in turn, shocked Phanpy, even as Team Rocket went blasting off. Phanpy still felt the effects of the electric jolt, even minutes after Team Rocket was gone. Pikachu felt bad for Phanpy, as it felt responsible for shocking it, as it technically did, even though it only intended to shock Team Rocket. So Pikachu tries to comfort the Phanpy, but Phanpy continues to feel the effects of the shock, and it then feels a really big spark reverberate throughout its entire body, which sends it running away, trying to escape the pain. Pikachu and Ash try to go after it. However, the Phanpy is too fast and ran away, indicating that it really didn't want to be with Ash and Pikachu, leading Brock to come to the conclusion that Phanpy must have thought that Pikachu shocked it on purpose, and therefore didn't trust Ash anymore, so it ran away as a result. Pikachu felt really bad at this point, as now its attempts to comfort it seemed to have scared Phanpy away even more, thinking that maybe Phanpy had run away in fear that Pikachu was going to try and shock it again. Misty and Ash comforted Pikachu though, telling it that they knew that Pikachu was only trying to help, and said that if Pikachu didn't use Thunderbolt, then Team Rocket would have gotten away with Phanpy anyways, which would have been worse. However, this didn't cheer Pikachu up, and he was still sad, as Ash and the gang split up to cover more ground to find Phanpy. Misty was merely searching, though Brock, on the other hand, did a little more than that, as he remembered that Phanpy liked food, so he laid out some Pokemon food, hiding it in a bush, hoping that Phanpy would appear and take the bait. Almost immediately after he left the food, a bush nearby where he had left it started to wiggle, and so Brock excitedly reached in, hoping to find Phanpy, only to find Misty's Psyduck eating the food, who had forcibly popped out of its Pokeball. Noticing that her Psyduck had run away, Misty runs over and reunites with Brock, scolding her Psyduck for eating the food, although Psyduck wasn't fazed by this at all, as it was just as confused as usual, being a dumbass, simply just staring at Misty. Meanwhile, as for Ash and Pikachu who were searching for Phanpy, they were stopped, as Pikachu stopped, being too sad to continue searching, still blaming itself for Phanpy's disappearance. Ash tried to comfort it though, assuring Pikachu that Phanpy's disappearance wasn't its fault. They would find Phanpy eventually, and reminded him that if they just stood about feeling bad for themselves all day, then they wouldn't get anything done, and this motivates Pikachu to continue searching. Meanwhile, as for how Phanpy itself was doing, the electricity was thankfully starting to wear off, and Phanpy was feeling better as a result. It was so overtaken by the electricity before that it didn't even realize that it had ran so far that it was now deep in the dense woods. Upon seeing these deep woods that it was unfamiliar with, Phanpy regretted leaving Ash, as he remembered that Ash was going to give him some food, and in the safety of their camp, where Phanpy wouldn't have to worry about being ambushed by some wild Pokemon out in the deep woods. So, Phanpy decided to search for Ash, indicating that its trust for him was now back, but upon thinking about the food from earlier, Phanpy got hungry. Its hunger only intensified as it then smelled a very pleasant aroma from nearby and began to follow it. We then see that the source of this smell was Team Rocket, since Meowth was cooking some delicious toast over an open fire. Whoa, no way, Team Rocket actually had some food for once? How surprising. Anyways, even though Meowth was pleased with himself for just cooking some awesome toast, Jessie and James were still depressed at the fact that they failed to capture Fampy. However, Meowth tried to cheer them up by giving them each a piece of toast as he proceeded to eat his own. Unfortunately, Meowth's toast suddenly disappears, leading Meowth to bite his fingers instead, as he screams out in pain before realizing what had happened. Fampy came and stolen his toast. This led his scream of pain to turn into a scream of sadness at the fact that his toast was now obliterated. But Jessie and James didn't care about this whatsoever, as they just went to eat their toast, only for Fampy to jump in and eat their toast as well, causing Team Rocket to bite their fingers and scream in pain. Unlike how Jessie and James didn't care that Meowth got his toast stolen, Meowth cared that Jessie and James got their toast stolen very much, as he was the one who worked hard to make it. So he searched around for Fampy, who had went off into a little forest clearing to go finish off the toast in peace, although Meowth was able to quickly find it, and gets even angrier when he notices Fampy still finishing the toast. Meowth angrily scolded Fampy for eating its toast. But Fampy misinterpreted this yelling as Meowth being desperate to play, and Fampy wanted to play as well, so it playfully knocked Meowth to the ground with its trunk using a tackle attack. Jessie and James were not angered by the Fampy for this, but they were impressed by it, stating that it was powerful for a small guy. Jessie then got curious on what else the Fampy could do, so she asked James to look in his Pokemon guidebook, which essentially functioned as a Pokedex for certain Pokemon in Johto. So, James did this and revealed that Fampy could use Tackle, Growl, and Takedown, and much to Jessie's delight, Fampy was a ground type. Jessie liked this because ground types were super effective against electric Pokemon like Pikachu. So, Team Rocket could really use Fampy on their team to stop Pikachu from now on. So they try to recruit it by using food, thinking that it obviously would want more. So they try to give Fampy some sausage and bananas. I don't know where they got all this food, I thought they were broke, but Fampy didn't care about the food anyways. This was because Fampy had its attention on Meowth's tail instead, which it could see wagging in the wind, as Meowth had turned around, not facing the Fampy directly, fearing that Fampy would try to tackle it again. Meowth didn't expect Fampy to use its trunk to try and play with his tail though. Jessie was initially enraged at Fampy being too distracted by Meowth's tail to fall for the food bribe, but James then came up with an idea, which instantly made Jessie happy again. Meanwhile, Ash and the gang had now all reunited at this point, and unfortunately, they all reported that they hadn't found any traces of Fampy. This made Pikachu depressed once again, leading Ash to try and encourage it by reminding Pikachu that Fampy seemed like a tough Pokemon, but Pikachu obviously wasn't convinced by this, as it had run away after one Thunderbolt, so Pikachu ended up becoming more depressed as it was reminded of Fampy being hit by the Thunderbolt, and yeah, Pikachu was just not in a good state right now. To make matters worse, Team Rocket then showed up popping out of a bush, putting their plan into action as they were wearing weird jumpsuits and helmets. Ash proceeded to make fun of their ridiculous outfits, not knowing that Team Rocket were wearing them because they were electric-proof. Ash continued his insults until he saw Meowth appear from the bush as well, with Fampy, leading Ash to instead start calling out for Fampy to come to him, taunting Team Rocket by giving them a thanks for finding Fampy, stating that they should have kept hiding if they didn't want Ash to find it. However, Meowth just laughed as he went up to Ash and Pikachu and taunted them, stating that Fampy would not go back, with James clarifying that Fampy had actually joined Team Rocket, and that's why they willingly showed it to Ash, because it was now theirs. Brock obviously thought this was a lie, but Meowth assured Brock that Fampy would help them, and in fact, Fampy was going to help them capture Pikachu. He then proceeded to show off his tail, which was painted to resemble Fampy's trunk and face, which, just as Team Rocket anticipated, excited the Fampy, since it saw both itself and Meowth's tail, and it immediately ran towards Meowth. And it only ran faster when Meowth wagged his tail, wanting to bite onto the tail, similar to how Snubbull would. This was just as Team Rocket had wanted, so Meowth managed to jump out of the way, dodging Fampy as it ran towards it, but the Fampy didn't slow down, not realizing that Meowth had jumped out of the way, causing it to run into Pikachu instead. This knocks Pikachu down, allowing James to use the same extendable robo-arm as before, as it somehow wasn't destroyed by the electricity, and he uses it to capture Pikachu. Pikachu tries to escape by using Thunderbolt, but Jessie and James merely laugh, as they had on the electric-proof suits, making the Thunderbolt useless. James then sends out his Weezing and has it use Smokescreen, which creates a huge gust of smoke, obviously, which blinds Ash and the gang, allowing Team Rocket to escape with both Pikachu and Fampy. By the time the smoke cleared, Ash and the gang unfortunately saw that Team Rocket was long gone. It's then revealed that Team Rocket had retreated into the forest and had immediately put Pikachu into a cage and started to celebrate their new catches by treating themselves to some milk. They even gave Wobbuffet some milk as well. Upon seeing that Fampy wanted some of the milk too, and it also looked like it wanted to play, which Meowth obviously didn't want to cooperate with, James decided to put Fampy in the same cage as Pikachu so that it couldn't steal any goddamn milk. Since now, they didn't really need Fampy to help them out with anything, they just needed to take it to Giovanni with Pikachu. Fampy was sad that Team Rocket didn't want to play with it anymore, and came to the conclusion that no one cared about it, thinking that Ash was still hesitant to have him back. However, Pikachu wiped away Fampy's tears as it began crying, and comforted it, trying to explain that it had people who cared about it, being Ash and the gang, as well as him. Thankfully, Pikachu's kind words are able to cheer Fampy up. This allows Fampy to help Pikachu in making a plan to escape, although Pikachu did most of the planning. Nonetheless, the plan seemed pretty good, as it involved Pikachu and Fampy utilizing the cliff that they were sitting by to their advantage by bashing the cage so that the cage fell down the cliff, and therefore away from Team Rocket. Pikachu and Fampi quickly put this plan into action as they bash the cage with tackle, and after doing this twice, the cage rolls down the cliff, breaking when it smashes into a tree, thereby freeing the two Mons. The sound of the cage breaking alerts Team Rocket though, especially James, who quits drinking his milk and runs over to where the cage used to be, only to find it, along with Pikachu and Fampi, gone. He alerts Jessie and Meowth, and Meowth notices that the cage fell down the cliff, so he gets in the Meowth balloon with Jessie and Meowth, and chases after Pikachu and Fampi as they had spotted the Meowth balloon and began running, so they were now in a big chase. Pikachu and Fampi were thankfully able to stay ahead of the Meowth balloon for a while, as they then came across a river, but they couldn't cross the river as the stream was too strong and would push them away if they jumped in. So, Team Rocket's Meowth balloon was fast approaching them. As for Ash and the gang, they saw Team Rocket's Meowth balloon up in the sky and decided to follow it. Although, upon realizing that the Meowth balloon was likely heading for something and it was going in a straight direction, Ash and the gang just decided to go ahead of the Meowth balloon, meaning that they ended up going straight to the same river that Pikachu and Fampi were at, although they ended up on the opposite side of them, also unable to cross the river due to how bad it was raging. Pikachu, though, then spotted a rock in the middle of the river and decided to use it to try and get to Ash and the gang, so it jumped onto the rock and motioned for Fampi to jump on as well. Fampi obliges and makes it onto the rock, though he almost went in due to almost messing up his jump, not just because he was less skilled of a jumper than Pikachu, but because Ash and the gang had distracted him as they happily called out to it and Pikachu, stating how glad they were to see them. Pikachu then spotted another boulder that would get him closer to Ash and the gang, so he hopped to that one, motioning for Fampi to follow yet again. Fampi obliged, jumping, but this time he didn't make it and fell in the water, but thankfully Pikachu was able to grab him with his tail at the last second before Fampi drowned. Unfortunately though, Pikachu couldn't handle both it and Fampi's weight on one rock, so it fell into the water, making Fampi fall into the water with it, and to make matters worse, the current of the raging waters started to pull Pikachu and Fampi away. Ash instantly panics and tries to follow the current from his side of the river as he walks along the grass by it, although Misty and Brock warned him that the current was too strong and that he wouldn't be able to do anything, but Ash was determined, especially when he saw Pikachu manage to grab onto another rock that was under a tree and hold on to Fampi still, so Pikachu and Fampi weren't ready to die yet either. Upon seeing that the rock that Pikachu and Fampi were on was underneath a tree, Ash ran up to this tree and grabbed some rope that he happened to have in his backpack as he put his backpack down and tied the rope onto a branch on a tree and used the rope to climb up the branch. Once he was on the tree, he proceeded to lower the rope down in an attempt to lasso Pikachu and Fampi with the rope. He tells Pikachu to grab on, though he immediately rescinds this order as he realized that if Pikachu let go of the rock that he was hanging onto, then he would fall into the current. So, Ash instead gets the idea to keep the rope tied to the tree, but climb down the rope to grab Pikachu from another angle, and he's able to grab Pikachu, but in the process, Fampi slips out of Pikachu's grasp, still being swept away by the current. This leads Ash to jump into the river to save Fampi, even though he saw a waterfall nearby. In fact, this just motivated him to jump in even faster so that he could save Fampi, even if he was putting his own life at risk. Unfortunately, even though Ash does grab Fampi, he does in fact go down the waterfall, but Ash had a plan. He still had the rope with him, so he threw it to Misty and Brock, who were on the other side of the river, and Brock managed to catch it and give half of the rope to Misty, and together, him and Misty pulled the rope, in turn, pulling Ash and Fampi out of the river and back to land, safely. Yay! Also, Pikachu was in Ash's hands the whole time, so Pikachu was safe as well. Yay again! And also another yay, because Fampi really appreciated Ash for saving it, fully showing that it now trusted him again, and it showed Ash some affection, which relieved Misty and Brock. Happy that Ash's determination paid off. Ash then jokes that dealing with the waterfall was easy and merely a refresher when suddenly Team Rocket show up in their Meowth balloon, finally catching up to Ash and the gang. Team Rocket obviously wanted Fampi back, so they tried to lure it back by having Meowth wag his tail that was still painted like Fampi, but this time, Fampi didn't fall for the trick, as not only did it respect Ash too much now, but it hated Team Rocket for making it sad and capturing it. Jessie declares that Team Rocket could always just resort to force to get the Fampi, as Team Rocket do just that as they send out their Arbok and Weezing to attack. Seeing that Fampi wanted revenge on Team Rocket, Ash decided to let it battle, as Fampi did a rollout attack on both Arbok and Weezing at the same time, knocking them both back into the Meowth balloon. Team Rocket order their Pokemon out of the Meowth balloon again though, as James orders his Weezing to use Smokescreen, which prevents the Fampi from doing anything or seeing anything, so Jessie then commands her Arbok to go retrieve Fampi, since Fampi couldn't fight back. However, Team Rocket forgot about Pikachu, who immediately sprung into action at Ash's command after seeing that Fampi was in trouble, wanting to redeem itself by helping Fampi as opposed to scaring it away, so Pikachu uses Thunderbolt. Jessie and James merely laugh, as they obviously still had their electric-proof suits, but they forgot that the Arbok and Weezing, as well as the balloon, was an electric proof, which causes the balloon to explode when it gets hit, and the explosion for sure damages Jessie and James and Meowth, as it sends them all blasting off, only noticing the reasoning when they were already high in the sky. Ash is extremely happy with both Fampi and Pikachu as he holds Fampi high in the air and officially catches him in the Pokeball, as Pikachu celebrates the fact that Fampi and Ash now got along. Yay! The episode then ends with Ash stating how impressed he was with Fampi's skills, and Misty commenting how they should actually thank Team Rocket, since it was because of Team Rocket that Fampi realized who its true friends were, being Ash and the gang.